Hello there, people of the internet. I am a military surplus guy, and I'm here with a Yugoslavian Mauser that I just used not too terribly long ago. I fired this right here, and this is surplus ammo, and it's corrosive ammo, and people like me who fire corrosive ammo out of their firearms need to be able to clean their firearms on a regular basis, and we all have our own little niche and cliche ways of cleaning said firearms. However, I actually have myself something right here. This is Professor Pew CLP. What CLP it stands for Clean, Lubricate, and Protect. It's essentially a one-step to all processes of cleaning whenever it comes to a firearm. And these guys got in contact with me and they sent me some of this stuff to check it out. They're not paying me or anything like that. They just said, hey, we're gonna send this to you so you can go ahead and check it out. Now, on the bottle here, it says protects against rust and corrosion. That's fantastic. Removes plastic, wadding, lead, and powder fouling. So that's whenever you clean the inside of the barrel. It says it's safe to use on all factory finishes, and that's good because I have many rifles whose finish is quite old, and I don't necessarily want them to rub off with some mediocre gun cleaning accessory. But with the reviews I've read on this stuff here, this stuff seems to be pretty gosh darn good. So nowhere on this bottle does it say that it is meant to clean corrosive ammunition, but it does say it protects against rust and corrosion and it cleans out powder fouling. So that leaves me thinking to myself, maybe it could be used to clean corrosive ammunition out of a rifle. What corrosive ammo is inside the primer, the actual priming compound of the cartridge here, there's a bit of salt, and salt on metal causes metal to rust. So we gotta clean away that salt. Many times people will wash out their barrels with hot water or ammonia or some other kind of cleaner, but I want to see if this stuff right here will actually get rid of those corrosive elements inside of the barrel so we don't have to worry about our barrel rusting. So I just fired this not long ago. I'm going to go ahead and clean it with this, and then we will see if we start to see any signs of rust here in the next couple of days. I'm not going to let the rust get bad by any means because I don't want to destroy the bore of my Yugo Mauser here, but there are better ways to do this that don't involve actually rusting the inside of the barrel. But just whenever the rust begins to, start to pepper the barrel and start to even begin to exist, that's whenever you can start to tell, hey, there's still corrosive salts inside of this barrel and it needs a different kind of cleaning. Like I said, this does not claim to clean corrosive ammunition. I'm just seeing if it does. So if it does not, that does not go against their claims. So I'm just gonna take this. I have no idea if I need to do anything to the bottle. I just pulled this out of the packaging and I'm gonna spray it. There we go, spray it right on here. It's clear. I was expecting something more like an oil-looking based substance. So I'm just gonna run this through our Mauser a couple of times, and we will do that enough times to until we start getting clean wads out of this thing. Right now, I'm sure people are gonna yell at me because I'm scrubbing the inside of the barrel versus just pushing it through and pulling it out. Many times people yell at me because I go through these things and I'll push it in and then I'll pull it back the other way, and they're like, no, you're just putting more crap inside of the barrel. It's coming off the wadding and back inside the barrel. Right now I'm just in the scrubbing phase, so calm down, we'll get to it. Alright, I've got the bore nice and scrubbed. It took me a minute because I went ahead and I really cleaned it with this stuff. If this doesn't get the corrosive salt out of it, then I'll do the whole hot water method to clean out all the corrosive salts. I just wanted to see if this stuff right here would do it like, say, Ballistol would. So, yeah, I got that right there all nice and cleaned out. I'm going to watch it closely for the next couple of days. We'll see if some rust starts to accumulate. If it does, then you'll have to just add the extra step of using hot water or some sort of solvent. Like I said, this doesn't claim to clean corrosive salts, so I'm just kind of spitballing on that one. Up next, with this same Yugo Mauser, I'm going to stick a little bit of this on a rag. The bolt on this thing is pretty much in the white, and whenever I handle the bolt on this thing, the sweat and grease from my hands causes the bolt on this thing, the bolt handle, to rust like crazy. So now that I've handled this thing, I'm just going to wipe it down with some of this CLP, and we'll see if that cleans it off and actually prevents rust from my hand on the surface of this rifle, because this rifle like rusts really easily whenever I handle it. Whenever I don't handle it and I just have it sitting around, it's not that bad. But as you can see, the finish on this thing is essentially gone. So normally with me handling this thing like I just did, it would start to rust like within 2 days. This bolt would be peppered with rust. Alright, so that's all nice and wiped down. We'll go ahead and wipe down over here too, why not? And the inside was nice and scrubbed. All of this is nice and scrubbed. So we're going to test for corrosive salts from the corrosive ammunition with the bore, and we're going to test for the corrosive greases on my hands from just like sweat and whatnot that would normally cause the bolt on this thing to rust. So we're gonna let this one set for a little while. I'll check it in I'll check it tomorrow just to make sure I'm not rusting my bore out, but I'll check it every few days and I'll let you guys know what's happening. Maybe in 3 or 4 days I'll have a look at it, and by then I would know if there's corrosive salts inside of the barrel, especially since I live in Florida and it's a very humid environment here. So this right here is going to be a test that we're going to set aside, and if you want to see the rest of that, then stay tuned for later in the video, because we will be having a look at that. Up next, this is one that I am curious about. I literally, I'm pulling it right off of the packaging right here. I literally just got this. This is an 8890 Steyr straight pull rifle that I got from RTI. And it is caked in cosmoline. Like, if we look right here on the magazine well, that's 100-year-old cosmoline, which is essentially packing grease for guns, and it's what factories do whenever they put their guns into storage. And this thing is caked in it and absolutely disgusting. I should have a full video about this thing up before too terribly long. But I've got funk all over the barrel and receiver and sights and everywhere on this thing. So we're gonna go ahead and see how effective this stuff is. Now bear in mind that this is a lubricant-based item, and this right here, the cosmoline, this right here is better removed with something that cuts away at grease. Like, for example, if I were to use something like dish soap or mineral spirits or something that is, more suited for the removal of cosmoline, that right there might be a better purpose than this right here. But you know what? I'm curious. I want to see how well this stuff works. We're going to try it against the cosmoline, and then we're going to try it against just like the dirt and funk that was on this rifle from the warehouse situation. So I got me a pile of paper towels here, and I'm just going to go ahead and spray down our cosmoline here, and we'll see how well it wipes off. Oh wow. This stuff might be more effective at cleaning cosmoline than I thought. I already see it starting to take it off. Look at that! I was over here saying, hey, if this doesn't work on this, then it's not its fault. But dude, this is working like excellently. This cosmoline is just scrubbing right off. That's nuts. I was literally not expecting that. I was expecting to say, hey, it's just not made for this. It's not made for cutting through grease and grime like that. But wow, this is literally just wiping off. Like, this is the easiest I have ever cleaned cosmoline off of a rifle. I'm normally here having to scrub it off. This legitimately might be something that I recommend for people to get cosmoline off. As a matter of fact, whenever I put up this video, I'm going to send it to a buddy of mine who is looking to get cosmoline out of a rifle. And this is the stuff to do it. Like, oh my god. All I did was wipe it down with a paper towel and that is gone. That is nuts. I'm impressed with that one. That is like crazy nuts. I was not expecting that. Let's go ahead and spray it down one more time and finish wiping off. Like, I'm not doing no elbow grease, no anything. Literally all I did was spray it and now I'm wiping it down. And just like that, basically all the cosmoline that was on this freaking magazine tube right here, this magazine that's jutting out of the back of the receiver, it's basically all gone now. That's crazy. That just wiped off with some lightweight napkins. I've never seen that before. Like I said before, I normally have to sit here and scrub this stuff down. Wow. Look at the finish that's still on there too. I was expecting this to basically be in the white. That's awesome, dude. This gun is 150 years old, like nearing 150 years old. And that literally just ate it right off like it didn't even matter. That didn't even slow it down. That's nuts, dude. That's absolutely nuts. I want to get this video up and out just because of that. I want to send this to my buddy. All right, well, I got a bunch of it on the wood, and CLP should not be bad for wood, and it should be pretty good at scrubbing off the dirt and whatnot that's on this wood. You know what? The stock on this thing is like beautifully, it's got beautiful tiger striping on it, but it's also very dirty. So let me go ahead and spray a little bit on our stock here, and we can see if we can clean up this little area of the stock. This right here is more or less just dirt, rather than like Cosmoline and whatnot, so it's not a grease. Wow, this did a really good job at cleaning that up. That's insane. This is by far the easiest stuff I have ever used. That's nuts. And it's not taking off the finish on the stock. That's still there and nice and shiny, but look at that. Look at the gorgeous tiger striping that's coming through the wood now. Man, that is phenomenal. Let me go to the other side here. I'll be honest, whenever I got this stuff, I was just kind of like expecting another gun cleaner. And I'm sure there's gun cleaners out there that are pretty on par with this, but dude, this is like effortless. Like the stuff that has caked onto this rifle is probably over a century old, and it's just wiping off like it's nothing. Look at that stock, man. That is some gorgeous tiger striping on that thing. I can't get over that. Alright, well, we got ourselves a bunch of crap and crud just from handling wear on the metal here. Let's spray down this metal and wipe it and see if that cleans it up any. I'm running out of napkins here, so I'm gonna have to start improvising, I guess. Alright, now this metal, I'm not sure how shiny it's supposed to be. I'm not sure what it's supposed to look like. This right here is actually just a battlefield repair from whenever this rifle took damage, who knows, 100 years ago. That's what this is on the side of the gun. And it's cleaning up a little bit. For the most part, the metal itself seems to be, I'm not sure if there's just like the actual coloration of the metal. Like I said, I don't know anything about what this is right here, but we're gonna see if this cleans up any. Alright, so for the most part, it does look like we got a lot of the dirt and grease off of it, but the metal didn't shine up any. So that right there, I'm not even sure if that's supposed to be shiny metal. Like I said, it's just a factory repair. Or not factory repair, it's just a repair that was done to it 100 years ago in the field. What is supposed to be shiny is this barrel. That right there should shine up nicely if we hit it with a little bit of this stuff. So let's try just spraying it down, and I'm gonna wipe it and see if we can get some of this funk off of here. Alright, yeah, as far as the actual like dirt and whatnot goes on this thing, that wiped off pretty gosh darn well. I mean, this isn't exactly going to be stainless steel shiny, but it does look better. Actually, this right here is a little good comparison. This part of the rifle, the middle between barrel band and barrel band here, I cleaned and wiped down. This right here has not, and you can see how dirty and dull this is in comparison to this right here. So yeah, this cleaned that up pretty gosh darn well. Let's go ahead and finish cleaning the other side. Actually, what I want to do is I want to spray some right here on the sights, because the sights are all sorts of dirty and corroded. Let's wipe these down and see how well these clean up. Wow, that's nuts. Those cleaned up very, very well, and very easily too. This stuff just absolutely cut through the grease and whatnot that was on these sights. And look, we still have quite a bit of finish left on this rifle from, 140 years ago, whenever it was made. That's nuts. These are the original sights that came with the rifle. That's why they look like this. This system was originally intended to be black powder. This was designed and created during a time period where smokeless powder wasn't really necessarily a thing yet. That's nuts. That's insane. Look at how easily it cleaned those up. And it's not damaging the finish at all. None of the finish is coming off with this. Okay, well, as far as 100-year-old grease goes, that's pretty awesome. Like, no lie, I am thoroughly impressed with that. And if this is any indication as to what I can expect with my Yugo Mauser over there, then I think I'm going to be pretty gosh darn impressed. This absolutely ate through that Cosmoline. It didn't even slow it down. That is like insane to me. Like, Cosmoline can be a nightmare to get off of your surfaces and whatnot, but this stuff just like wiped it away like it was nothing. I was not expecting that at all. Okay, I have one more thing that I want to do with this, and then we'll fast forward a couple of days and we'll have a look at everything, so I'll be right back. Okay, up next I have this Rock Island Armory, which people consistently yell at me for because I never clean it. And, well, whenever I show this thing off to people, and I show them off the internals of this thing, you can see just from the breech face right there, well, the breech right there, and along the breech face, and just all on the inside. I never clean this thing. This thing is so gummed up with all sorts of powder fouling inside of it that unless I keep it thoroughly lubricated, like, it will just slowly slug its way forward and back, and it's just a mess. So what I've done so far is I have tested really old Cosmoline. I have tested corrosive salts. Now we're going to go ahead and test the effectiveness on actual modern day powder fouling from a firearm that is very thoroughly fouled up. So, magazine out. Let's see if I can remember how to disassemble a 1911 here. Okay, so I'm going to be using one of these patches I got with this gun cleaning kit because I'm officially out of napkins. Spray this down with some of this CLP recoil spring. These are notorious for having all sorts of powder fouling and whatnot all over them. Scrub that off some. Go ahead and get into our breech face here. I'm just going through scrubbing all the surfaces with this CLP. Seeing if we can't break some of this part. As we can see from our dirty little swab here, we definitely have some powder fouling that's getting scrubbed out of this thing. And not only are we going to have a lot of powder fouling that's scrubbed out of this thing, but the CLP will actually stay behind and keep a protective coating on this to stop it from rusting and corroding. The breech face that was on this slide was definitely the one of the more dirty parts of this system. We'll go ahead and we'll touch on the barrel here in a second. But now it's all nice and bright and shiny, and I think that is significant improvement. This right here is going to cycle much better now that I've got all that done. As a matter of fact, I'll lube it up with this whenever I'm finished here. Grab us another little pad so we can see how much dirt comes off of this barrel, or I guess how much fouling comes off this barrel, which is significantly fouled up. Let's go ahead and just scrub that off of there. Fantastic. Wow. Yeah, look at that. That is what shiny metal is supposed to look like now that we no longer have that powder fouling on that. That looks much better. Significantly better. Along here on our little locking ring here, or barrel retention ring for all you 1911 fans out there, we are going to scrub all the fouling and whatnot that is just sitting on this thing, and yeah, it's gone. So as far as the actual powder fouling goes, this just seems to like dissolve it and make it run out of the system itself. Let me grab my cleaning rod here, and we'll get inside the barrel and see what kind of powder fouling we get to come out of the barrel. Alright, just for fun, dump this in there, start scrubbing, see what we have come out of this thing. That's really not that bad. Maybe the inside barrel of this thing ain't as dirty as I originally thought, and that would make sense. Barrels don't have a whole lot of fouling and whatnot that's going to be left inside of them. Unlike this little cotton swab that's currently left inside of this one. Yeah, I don't see any fouling in this thing now. Of course, there probably wasn't much in there to begin with. That looks a lot better. Looks a lot better than it did. I'm going to grab another one of these and do that one more time. As a matter of fact, I'm going to grab one of these full-on paper towels here, one that's not coated in Cosmoline. And I'm actually going to stuff just a wad of this into our barrel here. Pull that off. To where we get a nice tight seal. And now I'm just going to take this covered with the CLP with a nice tight seal and push it through here. How's that look? Oh, that is gorgeous. That pushed down all that crap. Fantastic. Now that is nice. Alright, so yes, I can confirm that this does in fact dissolve modern powder fouling. This cleaned up this 1911 extremely well. The breech face is no longer covered in funk. Yeah, the actual chamber area on this looks fantastic. The metal shined up wonderfully. Let me go ahead and put this back together, and I'm going to lube it up with this right here because it is a lubricant. Clean, lube, protect. Let me reassemble this 1911. 1911 is reassembled. Pull our slide back. I can already tell that this is going to be a phenomenal lubricant because it's already caked all over this thing, and boy is it slippery. Now we're just going to spray this down a little bit. Grab our firing pin area up here along the slide rails. The hammer area here, and now just kind of work this into the system. Aw, dude, this feels like a new gun. Considering how gummed up it was before, that's awesome. I'm gonna grab this and just kind of wipe down our slide a little bit here. Doesn't seem like it's damaging the finish or anything. Huge perks. Fantastic. Alright, well this cleaned up this 1911 really well. Got the powder fouling out and everything. And there we go. One nice, shiny 1911. This right here is the Rock Island Armory one. Definitely gets my stamp of approval. Let's go ahead. Aw, dude. Aw, that is nice. I'm not used to... I'm used to this thing being like really gummy and whatnot. Dude, that is... Like I said, this feels like a new gun. Hell yeah. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and we'll pick this up again in the next couple of days. Look at that. With the shine that is on this finish now, you can see how this is actually two tones, two different kinds of finish, two different variables of finish whenever it comes to this 1911. Two tones of finish on the metal. This one right here, the slide, is actually darker than the frame itself. That is cool. I never noticed that before now. But we'll pick this up in a couple of days, and we'll check the Yugo Mauser, see if we have any issues with rust and whatnot, and, well, we'll move on from there. Alright, anyone who's ever gotten one of these old Milsurp rifles knows how bad the bore can be. And sure enough, after scrubbing it with those wires and some of that Mr. Pew CLP stuff, that cleaned up the bore pretty substantially. And look, this is an 8mm Mauser round, .323 diameter round. This barrel even still has a little bit of life left in it. That means that this rifle here is actually going to be able to fire. Century and a half old. I'm going to go run some rounds through it. How do you like that? Of course, ammo for this thing doesn't really exist anymore, so I've got to like hand make my own. So that'll be for a later period in time. I'm also noticing I lathered our bolt in it, and we have just a bunch of rust and whatnot pouring out of this bolt. That's not a result of the Mr. Pew stuff. That's just because, well, this bolt has a lot of rust inside of it. So this Mr. Pew stuff will actually dissolve the rust on the firearm, and it'll help get rid of it. And that's pretty cool. This bolt is actually seized up, the internals are, so I have to get in there and I gotta break it apart and see if I can get it actually functional. And if this stuff right here will help dissolve rust, then this might actually be able to help me get this bolt on this old gun to function properly. I tell you what though, just from that little tiny amount that I sprayed on this thing, this is significantly smoother going back and forth. Other than the part where the bolt's seized up and whatnot, yeah, this is significantly better. There is something on the inside that is stopping the sear from engaging the sear surface on the trigger, and so as a result, it's simply not going forward. And whenever it does, it drops past that sear and the thing just drops. So that's something internal that has absolutely nothing to do with the Mr. Pew stuff. But what Mr. Pew is doing, the Professor Pew, what it is doing is it is knocking out the internal rust from this bolt, and that is going to make cleaning this significantly easier. So yeah, it seems to like almost dissolve rust, so you can wipe it away and clean up your gun and whatnot. Oh, well, that's over there now. Another beautiful piece of this old busted up rifle. we're missing a spring on our bolt retention system right here. So this is supposed to be like that, and when it's like that, the bolt comes out, and that's why it's just flowing across the side of the room. All right, I'm probably gonna do some bolt disassembly with this thing, see what I can figure out, and see why she isn't doing what she's supposed to be doing here. So that's probably going to be on me. That's probably going to be a separate video. We do have a functioning firing pin. Look at that sticking out right there. That means that this will fire if I can figure out what's going on the inside of the bolt. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a few days and we'll look at the Mauser, and we'll see how that looks after this, because I gotta be honest, I am thoroughly impressed with it so far. It seems to be incredibly effective at what it claims to do. Okay, so about a week has passed, 6 days, and I'll be honest, I was planning on doing this a little bit sooner, but life has a funny way of getting away from people. So hey, here we are 6 days later, and that is absolutely plenty of time to know if this thing is going to rust. So I've already looked at it, and I will go ahead and try and put up some photos, but there's absolutely zero rust inside of this board. Cleaning this thing out with this CLP that I was given seems to be quite effective, and it's definitely dramatically easier than, you know, pouring hot water down the barrel and making sure that that water is dried and, you know, properly cleaned out before you go about oiling and lubricating and whatnot. This stuff seems to have gotten those corrosive salts out because, like I said, well, it's been about a week now, and that is plenty of time for rust to start accumulating in this barrel from corrosive salts. I live in Florida, and I have neglected my barrels before from corrosive ammunition. And with that neglect, literally the next day things start rusting. A lot of times I'll like spritz a little bit of oil into the barrels to try and stop them from rusting, but that never really helps all that much. The oil eventually just, the salts eventually just surpasses the rust, and we have absolutely nothing even beginning to show up in this bore. Over on our bolt, same story, no rust anywhere on this thing, which means that CLP did a fantastic job of preserving the metal on this rifle. And that's good, because this rifle has always had issues with rusting, and that just makes sense since the finish on this rifle is pretty much gone. Now, all of that being said, I actually went out and I shot corrosive ammunition in another rifle of mine. Since I started filming this video, I got this Ishapore 2A1, and I was going to record, you know, me cleaning this one as well, but I guess I just didn't get around to that one. But I fired corrosive 7.62 NATO out of this one, and, well, I cleaned it the same exact way. All I did was I used that CLP stuff, which I actually have in the other room because I was literally using it to clean some other guns of mine because it works exceptionally well at cleaning off all sorts of funk. And inside this one as well, I don't see any rust whatsoever. Literally nothing's starting to pop up. I'll see if I can put up a photo of this one as well. So, yeah. This stuff seems to clean out corrosive salts pretty well. Like, it seems to help prevent rust very, very exceptionally well. The Ishapore's never really had issues with rusting except for over here on the magazine. I have not sprayed down the magazine yet. But yeah, you can see right here we got a little bit of rust starting to pop up. Once I spray some CLP on that, then I imagine that that right there will cease. So, am I impressed with this stuff? Yeah, I am impressed with this stuff. I've tried a couple of different things to clean corrosive salts out of barrels for my corrosive ammo, and I'd say they're like a 50-50 mix on things that do and don't work. For the most part, I just do the hot water down the barrel method, but then you gotta make sure, like, you gotta be positive that you clean out all that water before, like, you gotta make sure your barrel is dry before you go oiling and lubricating it, otherwise you're gonna have issues with rust inside of your barrel. Whereas this CLP stuff, I literally just cleaned it like normal, like you normally would with standard cleaning, and it seems to have gotten all those salts out. Now I'm going to go ahead and like keep an eye on this. If that changes down the road, if any rust starts to pop up on the barrel, then I'll let you guys know, but I don't foresee that happening. Like I said, enough time has passed to where if something was going to happen inside that barrel, something would have happened. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. like I said, they didn't pay me any of this, or they didn't pay me for any of this review or anything like that. They just sent it to me and said, hey, let us know what your thoughts are on it. So there you go. I let you know what my thoughts are on it. I don't really foresee me doing much with this besides like cleaning corrosive ammo and cleaning cosmoline off of guns. Of course, then again, I am a military surplus collector, and that is like literally half of the cleaning that I do. I don't really foresee me using it for cleaning out like powder residue and whatnot. Simply because, actually, I should test this stuff on black powder. I don't have a means to test it on black powder right now, but I should test it on black powder. Maybe I'll do that sometime in the future. But I doubt that I'll use it on smokeless powder residue, simply because I don't really clean my guns whenever I'm firing non-corrosive ammunition. And if they're still cycling and functioning properly, I'll run thousands of rounds through those bastards. I think I'll never clean them. As a matter of fact, I ought to grab my AK-47, which has some significant powder fouling inside of it, and see how well this stuff digests that stuff. So, yeah. Maybe I'll do that later on whenever I test for black powder with this stuff. If I get around to testing this stuff with black powder. I imagine that it probably would clean it pretty well, simply because it's already cleaning powder residue, and it seems to already clean corrosive salts, which is, held in that powder residue inside of your barrel, so it would make sense that it would clean those out. Okay, folks. I'm rambling at this point. I will see you guys later. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. This is not really my usual forte, but I gotta say I'm very, very pleased and very happy that I now have something I can use to clean cosmoline out of these old rifles that doesn't involve like enough elbow grease to give me rippling rock hard biceps. Oh God, I'll see you guys later. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. Shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.